Wheeling Plan Commission meeting for Thursday, April 24th, 2014 is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Dorband.
I'm here.
Commissioner Johnson, I am here. Commissioner Powers.
Here.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Here.
Commissioners Stylen and Zangara are both absent with prior notice. Chairman Rufato.
Here. Mr. Jennings, any changes to the agenda?
We have no changes this evening.
Item number 5, citizen concerns and comments. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on matters other than the items that are on our agenda tonight? Nope, great. Number 6, consent items. We have a number of signs in the consent agenda. Docket number SCBA 1410 Salada, appearance approval of a wall sign at 1083 Lake Cook Road, which is a restaurant. How was it called? A new restaurant on Lake Cook Road. Docket number SCBA 1412 and 1413, 255 East Dundee Road and 534A West Dundee Road. Appearance approval for new gaming, what would you call them? Gaming stores. Cafes. Gaming cafes. Docket number SCBA 1414, Moda 2, 361 East Dundee Road, appearance approval wall sign, and this is for a new retail store. And docket number SCBA 1415, Serenello's, 361 East Dundee Road, appearance approval modifications to a freestanding sign, and that is at, it's not at 361
The agenda is.
It's not at 361 East Dundee Road, it's on Milwaukee Avenue. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dorband, second by Commissioner Johnson. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Dorband.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, I say yes. Commissioner Powers.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Yes.
And Chairman Rufato.
Yes. Items for review. Docket number 2014-7 U-Haul 300 Marquardt Drive, Suite 102B, special use site plan approval for a truck rental facility. Mr. Secretary.
Docket number 2014-6. Carrie Chicurnio, is that correct? Contract lessee and manager of Green Wheels West U-Haul is seeking special use site plan approval as required under Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code. Chapter 19-07 Industrial Districts, Chapter 19-10 Use Regulations, Chapter 19-12 Site Plan Approval Requirements, and associated sections in order to establish a heavy motor vehicle rental facility at 300 Marquardt Drive, Suite 102B, which is zoned I3 General Industrial District. Standards for special use. The zoning special use is defined in Title 19 of the Village of Wheeling zoning is a use of a parcel of land that requires review and consideration before approval due to circumstances or effects on the surrounding properties that may adversely affect them. In order to be considered for a special use, the petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at the public hearing why their request meets the conditions of the Village Code, including, but not limited to, how the proposed use will not damage the enjoyment or use of the surrounding properties. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that their request for a special use meets the standards established in Title 19. Commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting material submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the Village Board. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings?
There are a couple of questions in the staff report. What I'd like to do is just go ahead and start with the petitioner's presentation, and we can cover them later.
Okay, great, thank you. Sir, will you be the only one speaking tonight?
Unless there are questions that need to be answered by somebody else, that is correct.
Well, then, who might else be speaking, so we can just take care of everything that we need?
Mr. Jamie Lee, who is the president of the Regional U-Haul.
Sir, could you please stand up, and if you could both raise your right hand? You swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
I do.
Great. And if you can give your name and business address to our recording secretary, or if you have a business card, that'd be great. Thank you.
My name is Kerry Chicurnio. I am here as petitioner and on behalf of the petitioner. I'm an attorney as well. The address would be 300 Marquardt Drive, Suite 102B, Wheeling.
Thank you. The floor is yours for your presentation.
Okay. I believe the presentation should be fairly straightforward, and I'm not going to bore everybody with a lot of details because I think the packet is pretty much self-explanatory. We are seeking a special use permit for the purpose of presenting a small office to create a daily rental for U-Haul trucks, no trailers. With regard to that, the zoning for the property allows for this particular special use in that particular area, so we are within your statutory or provisional rights to appear before you for that purpose. This is a small center. There will be no visible change to the current structure at all, no additional signage other than a sticker on the side light of the door to that particular suite of this building. We're talking about 500 square feet of office space that will be utilized for the purpose of creating the rental office. Currently, the property consists of 47 parking spaces, which are more parking spaces than are needed for that particular building for the particular use that it's currently under. Those spaces at 47 spaces are 10 feet apart. I believe your code allows for 9 feet apart. So if we were to do or reorient these spaces on this particular property, we would have 50. The lease for this particular U-Haul center is going to accommodate 8 spaces for the specific use of these vehicles. No trailers will be allowed here and no other rental of any other equipment by U-Haul other than small trucks. When I say small trucks, we are talking about cargo vans, a 10-foot box truck, 14-foot box truck, 17-foot box truck, and a 20-foot box truck. On very rare occasions, there may be a 24-foot truck that shows up. U-Haul, the nature of U-Haul's business is that inventory is fluid throughout the country. So if a truck comes in that is of a slightly larger size, it would be there temporarily, maybe a day or two before that truck is then moved to another center that can accommodate it. So 8 spaces are allocated by virtue of the lease for this particular use. On a regular recurring basis, 4 of those spaces will be used for rental vehicles. With regard to the use, this is in an industrial complex. It's actually 2 buildings away from the airport. This is a very heavy industrial area. There are no residential properties within view of this particular space. Properties across the street and properties next to this property on a regular daily basis see semi-trucks, 18-wheelers coming in and out. So the impact of these small trucks for residential or customer purposes will be insignificant in terms of the impact to the area and to the nature of the use. There really is no landscaping that should be required of this because there's nothing to screen it from except for the big trucks on the left of us and the big trucks on the right of us and the big trucks in front of the property. So I'm not sure why we would be required to do any screening. With regard to the necessary issues that need to be satisfied for the special use, public convenience, the site is an industrial area and the general population has shown that there is a need for daily truck rental in this particular area. The closest rental center that U-Haul has, and they have significant business, is in Arlington Heights. And we would like to bring some of that business to the village of Wheeling and create some income for this particular community. So we do see that there is a need to do this. It's environmentally responsible. We look at U-Haul as being really one of the first companies in the business of car sharing, keeping fewer trucks and fewer vehicles of this type off the road by allowing people to share them and rent them. They've been doing this for about 50 years. They are a responsible member of every community that they are in, and they are rated by the Better Business Bureau and are members of the Chamber of Commerce. In fact, here they are members of the Chamber of Commerce, and I think you will find them to be very responsible corporate citizens of the village. In terms of the essential character of the area, as I explained, this will have virtually no impact to the area in terms of what's already there with the airport and some of the other industrial buildings around. Traffic is much greater in terms of significance. The location and the intensity of the operation, again, is virtually insignificant to the building itself. It's an office that's going to be generated. No pylon signs, all the advertising is essentially done over the internet for U-Haul. So there won't be any, virtually no walk-in traffic for this particular site as people finding a location on the internet who need to use this to move furniture or do whatever for their own residential purposes. With that, I think I've gone through everything. I'm certainly open for questions. Again, I don't want to belabor this. I think it's a fairly straightforward presentation.
Thank you.
I'll be glad to answer anything that anybody has.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Yes. Please come up if you could sit down, sir. If you could give your name and address to our recording secretary.
Yeah, my name is Don Grabowski, Grabowski. My address is 5858 North Milwaukee in Chicago. And I represent the owner.
If you could raise your right hand, and do you swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep, I represent the owner of the building at 171 North Markward, which is the building next door. And she is concerned that this use may increase traffic at the facility. It is an industrial complex. It is an industrial building, and they do have trucks that frequently go in and out of the property. She's afraid that this will increase traffic, potentially causing a hazard because it is industrial. It will, be retail type traffic. This is an industrial facility. Additionally, she's, concerned that it may impact property values and insurance on her facility itself because it's changing the use and characteristic of the area. And that's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this matter? No? Okay. Thank you. Sir, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, in terms of changing the characteristic, I'm not sure that that I would agree with that assessment in terms of the fact that the utilization that we're going to be creating for this particular use is minimal. Again, we're talking about 4 different trucks, cargo vans, which are basically the size of some of the passenger vehicles that you'll typically find within the neighborhood. A 10-foot box truck is about the same size as a pickup truck. Again, you'll see those fairly common in our community. FedEx has trucks of greater size that come in and out of there all the time. I just have to disagree with the fact that there would be any kind of visible impact to the neighborhood or the surrounding businesses. With regard to insurance, everybody's fully insured. These are vehicles that do not require any kind of commercial license to operate. These vehicles are all standard automatic transmission vehicles. Anyone with a regular class personal driver's license is able to operate any of these vehicles, so it doesn't require any heavy equipment, heavy training, or any commercial use. Again, we are not, this facility will not be renting any other trailers or tow vehicles or anything like that. This is simply for trucks of a small nature, much smaller than what are typically in the area currently.
Great, thank you. We'll go now to the commission. Commissioner Dorvan.
Thank you. About how many trucks would you anticipate throughout the day will be going in and out?
Based on the estimate, we are thinking that, obviously, the end of the month is a little bit heavier in terms of usage. People tend to find themselves moving things around more frequently. With 4 trucks, your average usage per day is probably 1 to 2 trucks a day. So there would be 1 or 2 rentals a day on the average. The facility, by the way, I should have mentioned earlier, it's in the package. The facility is going to be open from 10 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock Monday through Friday, and 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock on Saturday. So these hours are purely consistent with typical business hours. In fact, I think they're shorter than a typical business day. So there would be no activity going on during the evenings or anything like that. All the activity would be done during normal business hours.
How many vehicles would you expect to be on the property at one time in any given day?
The property has been dedicated to have 4 regular vehicles on them. In the package, I explained that because of the fluid nature of inventory, so somebody moving from someplace else in the country to this area might bring a truck in to drop it off there. That truck would sit for maybe a day or so. So you may find at any one time, on a rare instance, you might find that there are 6 to 7 trucks on the premises at any one time. That's why we dedicated 8 spaces for the 4. But those trucks coming in would only be there for maybe a day or 2 until they were reallocated within the region someplace else.
How can you guarantee us that your trucking facility will not impede anybody around your complex there?
Well, I suppose I can give you as much of a guarantee as any other permitted use in that zoning area that their vehicular traffic is not going to impact anybody else. I assume that's why we have the zoning that we have and why we have the special use permit. We have 8 spaces dedicated pursuant to the lease, so there would really be no ability to have more than that coming in. I think if we did any kind of traffic study, you would see that, like I said, FedEx, who's regularly in there, probably drives trucks in there 8 to 10 times, and those are much larger. You've got the airport that's creating significant impact. You've got Granger next door that's creating much more vehicular traffic on a regular basis than this would. You've got 1 employee basically during the day, and you've got an average of 1 to 2 rentals a day. So I'm just, in terms of a guarantee, I don't know how a business can say, how many customers they can guarantee they're not going to have. It's like a grocery store can't guarantee that they're not going to get busy. So I'm not sure how to say that.
Well, I guess I just don't want your neighbors to be inconvenienced if, I want you to play all nice together. That's
No, and I appreciate it. And I don't mean to be argumentative, but I'm not sure how I can answer the question.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody kind of gets along and is good neighbors. I don't want to see anybody feeling like they've lost parking spaces because you've impeded their ability to park in their spaces.
Well, in fact, all of the tenants in the particular building have been contacted, and they're all actually very excited, and they're looking to have potential use of these vehicles from time to time on the nature of their business. So the building itself, which would be the only property that's impacted vehicularly, other than the thoroughfare, which is a major industrial arterial, there are virtually no complaints, and certainly nobody has stepped forward to say that they're complaining within the building. Again, parking spaces, there are 50 parking spaces on this facility, and if you've ever driven by this facility, it's not more than 20% of it is ever being used at any one time.
The last thing, in the staff report, Mr. Mr. Jennings has listed that the truck rentals shall be no greater than the size of 17-foot box trucks, total bumper to bumper of 24 feet. Can you guarantee me that?
I can guarantee that the trucks that are allocated to the space will be no bigger than that. U-Haul has a 24-foot truck, which is their largest truck. So I was trying to be forthright by saying that a truck of that size may come to the property because someone has moved into the area or utilized it on a one-way basis, has brought the truck there for their convenience to drop it off. That truck would then be there until it got reallocated, which is usually within 24 to 48 hours. So I'm not prepared to give you a guarantee that a truck of greater size would never be there, because I don't think that's a fair assessment or a statement that I can make under oath. But I can tell you that there is no truck that size that is allocated to this space to be there on a regular basis.
Okay, because that obviously is a condition of approval, so I just want to bring that up to you.
So be it. If you were going to make that as a condition of approval, I think we could certainly live with that there would not be a truck allocated for that space for daily rental. I would have a problem if you put in there that a truck of that size can never be on the property. I think that would be unfair to the business. I think it would be unfair to the property owner to say that a truck of a certain size can never be on people's premises. I just don't think that would be correct in terms of how we administer.
Mr. Jennings?
Yeah, I think if I could just interject, the staff concern on this was just just dimensionally. I don't think I have the aerial photo that goes along with this, but the parking spaces that are allocated for the use of this particular business are slightly wider than the standard, but not apparently deeper than the standard parking space. So the bed of the 24-foot truck is how 32?
32 feet.
I believe so.
The concern,
I've got the dimensions here.
so the concern the staff had is, although they would be there temporarily a day or two, during that day or two, how would they be physically fit onto a site that has 20-foot parking spaces?
Yeah, the bed is 32 feet, but you also got to remember that the wheelbase is set back so that there's an overhang onto the property so that that truck can actually be pushed back. So it's not impinging into the parking thoroughfare, as it were, in any significant manner, not blocking traffic. And I think that would be the concern. The other thing I would suggest is the fact that the other tenants, by the virtue of their business, will have deliveries from time to time where semi-trucks show up on this particular property. And the property was designed to have an ingress and egress so that larger vehicles, much larger than what we're talking about, are able to access the property on a regular basis.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. You talked about the larger trucks being reallocated. How does that happen?
Well, basically, when a truck comes in, it will appear on the screen to let the facility know that there is a truck of a larger size coming in. At that point in time, because the U-Haul's traffic center knows that truck shouldn't be at that facility or is incapable of being operated on that facility on a regular basis, they will then reallocate that by having that truck being picked up either by the area field manager or some other facility owner would come in and pick up the truck and move it.
Okay.
If I could just interject real quick,
Sure.
Sorry to cut you off, Commissioner Johnson. The concern that we had is if these are the spaces that are allocated. If you were to put a truck that has an 8-foot overhang here, it would actually hit this vehicle, correct?
Well, we would try not to hit the vehicles.
Well, but the reality is
It's got to go one way or the other. That was the concern of the staff.
And that, sir, is not probably playing nice with your neighbors. So that is a concern with a 24-foot truck. So that's what we're trying to get to. Commissioner Johnson?
Okay. You mentioned that you're not going to do trailers, but can trailers be dropped off there?
No. No, the facility operator will not accept trailers.
Okay.
The trailers are very heavy, and a person who does that is very old and cannot move those very well. So there's been specific instruction that trailers can't be at that facility.
I think the other questions I had have been answered. Thank you.
Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Grabowski, can I ask you to come up to the podium real quick? Can I ask, how did you learn about this coming in? Did you get a letter?
Yes, my client received a letter. She's 93 years old.
Okay.
She has a problem walking. She asked if I'd come in and represent her interest tonight.
Okay, and you said your address is 171 and this is at 300. So in respect to this property, where is your property? Is it across the street?
No, it's on the same side of the street. I believe
is.
it's the next property directly east.
Directly
Mistaken.
east. And
West. No, excuse me, west.
west. And then what kind of uses in that property, the 171? How is that used?
It's a manufacturing facility, and they use it to manufacture like plastic and foam and injection molded products.
And do you get deliveries at that facility too?
Yes, deliveries, and then there's also shipments from that facility.
Okay.
So there is truck traffic, but typically it's by licensed CDL drivers.
Okay.
It's people that are properly insured in a business type environment, and they are professional drivers. It's not some guy going in parking his own car in order to take a box truck out.
Okay.
Potentially, could damage others in the community or in that industrial complex.
Do you have any idea of the property to the east of you? Is that utilized at all? Or what's there?
I believe it's a vacant lot, or it is a vacant lot. My client has a vacant lot, and then she has a building next to it,
Okay.
so it's in a row.
Okay, thank you.
Just to, logic tells me that your address is 171.
Yes, sir.
It's on.
How can it be? Because this is 300,
All
so
right,
it's got to be
it's on the other side.
odds and evens. It's got to be on the other side of the street.
You're right, I apologize. Yep.
Yeah, it can't be, it's not directly next to their property. So it's across the street and to the west.
Yeah, it's less than 250 feet away.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Just to,
Yeah,
because I thought you,
that's where I was kind of, I didn't understand it, but I'd still like to know the usage on each side of the facility. Could the petitioner answer that for me real quick?
You can see in the picture, there is a manufacturer, I'm not exactly sure what they manufacture, but it is a manufacturing facility that is directly to the west of the property. And in fact, just behind where those cars are parked, where we were worried about bumping into one of those, that is the major thoroughfare for the semi-trucks to come in and dock and do whatever. The property directly to the east of this is the corner property of Marquardt and Wolf Road, and that is the Granger facility. So this sits between the Granger facility and another manufacturing facility. Across the street from it is another manufacturing facility and then a drainage basin.
Okay, if I look at can you pull up the site plan again, Andrew? Sure. I look at the yellow space there designated for use. I mean, the 24-foot truck is still could be an issue, but is it less of an issue at all if you put it up towards the north and not potentially block the drive to the parking spaces just to the east of those like South 3 parking spots?
It's a little bit difficult to see on this, so I apologize.
Yeah.
There's a row of parking stalls back here that if you were to overhang, it would be overhanging grass. It wouldn't be so close to the property line. The designated stalls are these 8.
Okay, and are there designated, are there parking line, striped parking spots directly across from those 8?
They're just out of the view here. I think if we maybe go back, yeah, you can see this aisle. There's a sort of standard double aisle.
Yeah.
So this is a double loaded aisle. This yellow car would be just here in this photograph.
Okay, because all I was wondering is if there was a place to put the 24-foot truck and not have it block some of the aisle, but if there were no designated parking spaces across them, that would, allow for a little room versus parking it on the south side of those parking spots and, plugging the aisle.
I would suggest that what we could do is, in the event, the rare event that the 24-foot truck shows up, it can actually be parked,
Across.
through crossways, horizontally to the parking spaces, which would then only take 2.5 spaces up, 3 spaces, because they're 10-foot spaces.
I assume there's parking to the north of those yellow spaces too, right, Andrew, all the way to the back lot line?
At the back lot line, I think it shows up on this, there's another row. So they
Yeah, they wrap all the way around.
Okay, I see 'em.
Right, so there's a sort of double aisle in the middle, there's a drive aisle, if you follow the arrow here, there's a drive aisle kind of ringing around. So what the petitioner is suggesting is to park it, in the event that the larger truck is here and can't overhang, it would be parked, taking up, 3-4 of these spaces here.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, that's a thought. I have nothing further, thank you.
Commissioner Shea.
Thank you. The facility at 103, or Suite 103, are you currently in that suite?
No.
Because I see a lockbox, or a key drop box there,
We mounted the
Hertz.
key box
in
in
anticipation.
anticipation. So it can be unmounted at the behest of
Right.
the commission or anyone who requires it.
Okay, I was just wondering if you're already
The
in there.
facility's not operational.
Okay. It would make more sense to me just to take a double spot, in the center for your 24-foot truck. But that's,
And
it's really, from what I've seen when I drove by there, you're right, there was maybe, at best, 20% of that, taken up. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. But you've got what, 1 to 2 employees?
yes,
You're going to have 4 trucks
yes,
allocated,
yes.
maybe 1 truck coming in. So you're pretty close, because the customer is going to come in. They may or may not drop off their car, especially if they're going to bring it back, that night or whatever.
But I would submit
Okay,
to you,
but
if they
it's-
did drop off the car, then they would be taking a space that the truck is no longer.
Correct. You've just cut it close, but, that's, your contract. Truck maintenance. You don't plan to do any truck maintenance on that property?
No, sir.
Okay, so you have either an off-site truck maintenance or somebody in the area?
We'd actually be looking for someone in the area in the event that the trucks needed it to do the servicing, which would, again, provide.
Well, since I'm a resident of Wheeling, just happens to be a little place called the Wheel Inn, and they're right around the corner.
And I'm,
Yeah, so we'll plug the Wheel Inn. You're not in any sight of the residences there, and I don't see anybody from the residence in that, so I don't think you're going to have any effect on that. Your rental, does it include like boxes and tarps and covers? Because when people rent for furniture, they like to cover those. So are you going to have that on your facility?
in the rental facility, there are some limited, what they refer to as non-serialized items.
Flat boxes?
A dolly, cardboard boxes, furniture pads.
pads?
Yeah, they have,
Okay.
you can get a bag of.
So that will be part of your-
blankets, like felt blankets. They're 6 to a thing for $5.
Right, okay. But you will have those on site?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to have parking signs for your trucks? This space is allocated to Hertz?
No.
I'm sorry, U-Haul?
No,
You're not going to have any of that?
No.
Okay. So if somebody comes in there and parks, so be it.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I'm a customer of your neighbor 2 doors down, and I park in one of your spots. So be it.
But
Okay.
we're going to be a good neighbor.
The only other comment is that with the proximity of the airport, I was just wondering why you didn't go in there a long time ago. I mean, it seems natural that a truck rental company would be, next to the airport. There's got to be some generation of that. But
I am not
that's-
familiar with the entire history, but I think that was attempted, and for some reason, they couldn't quite get the right position. We're going to be operating this facility as a satellite to a facility that's being operated in a downtown location in Chicago. And we were specifically requested if you could find a location to do this. There is a huge need within the community for this type of business. And as I said before,
Yeah.
all that
You got-
business is going outside the community.
Yeah,
And that's a shame.
airport, it's got to be,
Yeah.
to me, a good location.
And to Commissioner Dorbin's point, if this becomes so wildly successful that we need to come before you again to ask or allocate for more space, we will certainly do that. If we find that that business is such that it's going to exceed the requirements that we've requested.
And I hope that happens. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Couple of things. Andrew, do we have the hours as a condition?
Yeah, I've written up through the course of the discussion. a handful of
And you're
conditions.
closed on Sunday, correct?
That is correct.
So how do people, like that errant 24-foot truck that comes in on a Sunday, what's going to happen with that? That they don't know how to back it in, and what's going to happen there?
On the errant 24-foot truck that would happen to come in on Sunday, that truck would appear on the log, the computer log for that facility. The facility manager is required to then call that person, because they do have a contact, they have a text, and they have email when somebody rents the vehicle, to instruct them on how to follow the drop-off procedure and what exactly to do. In most cases, the facility person is there to accept the truck. If there is an in-town, what we call an in-town rental, where the truck goes in and out, that instruction is given personally to the person as they rent the truck. So in either case, if that errant truck came in and was parked incorrectly on a Sunday, the entire building is closed on Sunday. There is no activity that occurs there until Monday morning, in which case, Monday morning when the manager of the facility comes in, he would reorient and fix up whatever needed to be fixed up so as not to impact the rest of the tenants.
Your website indicates that there's a 26-foot truck.
There was a 26-foot truck that is no longer available.
I just looked and I could rent it.
Am I correct in that there is a, I'm going to defer to the experts.
Yeah, there is a 26, but they're going to be going out of the fleet.
Yeah, we were told that that truck doesn't exist.
Got to update your website. You need your webmaster there,
I
because
will
it's
contact you.
there, and I just looked, it's $39.95 a day. So I want to be clear that, oh, my quote just expired, son of a gun, that we, the 26-footers are not allowed there. I mean, they're still in the,
That's fine.
they're still being rented, and,
With all due respect, I think they're showing on the national site, but the truck is simply not available in this area. So you can't, I don't believe you can rent it. Am I saying something that's incorrect?
sure, I just put in my zip code, and it came up, so,
I stand corrected, sir.
well, I just,
And if you want to put in condition that the 26-foot truck cannot appear in this facility, that's fine.
that's good. So you mentioned you're not going to, before I go there, why those parking spaces there when there's 8 perfectly good spots in the back that would not cause any issues with overhang and nothing whatsoever?
Actually, that's a good question. The reason those spots were chosen by the landlord was that the building tenancy consists of, the landlord actually uses the space as a civil engineering firm. And I believe there are a total of 8 employees in the predominant space in that building. There are, on the far north side of the building, there is a suite where there are 2 people in that suite, and I think they produce optical equipment. Then there is there's a maid center where people come in to do residential maid service. And their people are kind of trained to park along that back, and that was the space that was kind of allocated to the maids as they come in and park their cars, and the cars that they use are all parked along that side. So in order not to disturb the nature and the harmony of the way the building had been used with this additional use, no one was using this kind of the center area. So the landlord said, here, just take these spaces and we'll allocate them to you, and it won't impact anybody else in terms of what they're accustomed to doing. So the front of the building is the civil engineering folks and where they park in that kind of middle aisle. And then the back around the ring is where the maid service folks park.
Are there, well, I mean, that to me would be the logical place to put these back in that 8. The owner of the property is not here, I assume?
No. I mean, we could certainly discuss it. The other thing is those spaces are kind of within the proximity of the suite itself, which is in the center of the building.
It's not a heck of a big building, but that it would be that difficult to put them back there. But I'll ask the commission after I'm done. Is there a facility similar to this? You mentioned the closest one is Arlington Heights, but is there anything similar to this that has just these amount of trucks in the area, so we would know what, to Commissioner Dorvan's comment about the amount of traffic coming in and out? Is there anything similar to that?
I am not sure. I know that there is a competitor that is located somewhere in Wheeling. I think it's a Penske, and I think it's kind of more in the business district, and I'm not exactly sure what their volume is or what their inventory is or how they're operating.
Okay, I was just curious to look at the value, but if you only have 4 trucks that you can rent it, I'm assuming that, like you said, 1 or 2 a day or something, it's not that great. Then my last question is, you have no signs, and I understand that do most of the traffic on the internet, renting, leasing, or whatever, but they still have to find the place. I don't know, is there a address sign? Is there an address on this building that people know? Granted, you're going to see the trucks, and I'm sure you sort of push for those sites anyway so you could see the trucks. As much as the owner said that's a great spot, if they were in the back, you wouldn't be able to see them anyway. So no signs, no address, nothing that, you're still looking around for an address.
Well, the address is not on the door yet because the facility
Well-
is not operable yet. When and if the commission approves this and we move forward, there will be numbers on that glass door. There will be a name, Green Wheels West, and there is already, in anticipation of hopefully of being able to be successful, there is a U-Haul rental sticker that is on the side light. It's about 18 by 24. That really is the only sign that creates the identification for the building.
Interesting. Well, they'll see the trucks too, I guess. It
And
just,
there is an address on the front of the
Okay,
building.
is
It's not huge,
It's not huge.
but it is there.
I mean, again, the theory was we didn't want to create a great impact with this, with people's modern technology and GPS and all the other ways that people find places today. We didn't want to come before you and have a problem of creating more signage or more clutter or.
Okay, that's all I had. Before I go ask for conditions, the parking, the allocated, location of the allocated spaces. I'm going to take a poll. Is everyone okay with where they're at right now? The allocated spaces, Commissioner Schaaf?
I'm okay with it.
Commissioner Powers?
Yeah, I think I'm okay with it.
Commissioner Johnson?
I'm okay with it.
Commissioner Dorban?
Okay.
Okay, all right, great. Mr. Jennings, what are the conditions that we have right now?
We have 4 currently. The staff report condition has been modified based on the discussion. I'll just go through all 4 of these real quick. Condition number 1, the rental trucks allocated to the site shall be no greater in size than the 17-foot box truck with a total bumper-to-bumper length of 24 feet. Number 2, that the operation is limited to a maximum of 8 vehicles and may not include trailers. Number 3, the hours of operation may be 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. And number 4, that if larger trucks are dropped off, the vehicles should be parked in order to maintain the drive aisles and not overhang onto the adjacent property.
On the trailer, the one on the trailer, would you add the 26-foot truck also? Something else just struck me, lighting. I see some lighting on the walls. Is that, has anybody checked that? Is that adequate? Because if they're going to be dropped off at night,
I don't believe you can see it on this photograph. You have to go back to the other one.
I can testify that those lights are on a motion detector, so that, yes, they turn on for the parking lot. And while they are not of the greatest candle power, they are significant to be able to see your way around.
could we have that checked though? Because I'm looking at these lights and they point directly down and you're to the furthest west of that. Here, I'm looking at these lights. I assume there's no lights in the parking lot?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so, no.
No, there are not.
All right, went to the wrong direction there.
I'm going to ask for a motion, but I'm concerned about that lighting being adequate.
There's a suggestion of phrasing for a condition of approval, confirmation that the lighting reaches the
Yes.
designated parking area.
Right, yeah, does not, what's the word, leak over into
Spill.
spill over into the existing property.
So the second condition is modified. to read, the operation is limited to a maximum of 8 vehicles and may not include trailers or the 26-foot trucks. The fourth condition is not modified, we just read that one. And the fifth condition is the petitioner confirm the lighting reaches the designated parking area and does not spill onto the adjacent property.
Great. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Schaaf, second by Commissioner Johnson. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Schaaf.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, I say yes. Commissioner Dorband.
Yes.
Commissioner Powers.
Yes.
And Chairman Raffato.
Yes.
5 with 2 absent.
Motion to close?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, sure. You'll have something to sign, sir.
The findings of fact and the recommendation of the Plan Commission we forwarded to the village board for the first available board meeting. So anyone who's following along, the neighboring property owners, for example, can check the village board agenda. It would likely be the first meeting in May. If you have additional concerns, you could attend that meeting or contact our office. And just for the record, that was 2014-7. The opening of the hearing incorrectly listed it as 2014-6.
Okay, calling docket number SCBA 14-9 Subway 743 North Milwaukee Avenue, appearance approval of wall signs. Mr. Jennings?
Thank you. This item was in front of the Plan Commission at the April 10th meeting, was tabled. The commission had expressed concern during the special use hearing regarding the character of the proposed sign. Once that sign was tabled, the special use findings and recommendation were forwarded on to the village board. Subsequently, the village board has approved the special use for this location. The petitioner, during the previous meeting, was asked to work with the Subway corporate office to determine what options there were for the display of signage. The village staff was directed to do the same. We both contacted the office in Connecticut and received similar instruction and direction from the Subway franchise signage office regarding the regulations for signage. The responses have been summarized in the staff report, and the petitioner's here asking for approval of the original sign and is available for any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you. Who's going to come up and speak? If you can just give your names to the secretary, please.
Bill. N-E-S-I.
The floor is yours. I assume, though, that there's not too many changes from the last time you were here.
Correct.
Any other comments?
I did provide a document to Andrew from the headquarters. The Subway logo is a trademark logo, and we do not have authority to change it.
Great, thank you.
But just by way of summary, just for the record, the staff report isn't read into the minutes. When we contacted the office in Connecticut, they did go through the options. There is a required sign package. They have the Subway franchisees, when they sign up for the franchise, they do have some obligation for signage. They have a main identification sign. They have an obligation to have an LED open sign. Then they have optional sign packages. There's a series, I don't know how long the list is. I don't have the manual, but what I was told is that the franchisees are given a franchisee manual. with sign guidance that has optional phrases that can be placed, the references to the bread baking on site, et cetera. So there are other options that can be added to a location in the window. We did discuss the Subway Cafe concept. The office confirmed that that is a concept that is not expanding. The Subway logo itself can be displayed in other forms. The franchise signage office informed our staff that, for example, if there's a particular shopping center or district that has a requirement for awning signs, the logo can be applied to an awning. If there's a requirement for a wood panel sign or an engraved wood sign, the same color and stylized font can be applied to a wood panel sign. So they do have some options. There was the question regarding the modification of the sign, though, was that the sign cannot be modified. The logo itself could not be modified with additional graphics or text.
Well, we'll start with the commission. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. What color is the outline on the sign?
I believe that's black. We have the SUV is in white, the WAY is in yellow, just like that, and the surround is in black. So it stands out better, because if it was against a light background, like in this example, that it wouldn't stand out.
Well, my question is because that the letter from the trademark office says it will be yellow, white, and green. And so you are modifying the logo by making it black, the way I'm reading it.
Yeah, we're not modifying the logo. It's white and yellow with the arrows. This is just the background of the logo. It's a surround, is what they call it.
I have no other questions on this.
Commissioner Powers.
Thanks. I see what was there, and honestly, I still have a problem with the sign, because I'm still looking for the brushed aluminum. Even though in your letter it says Subway Cafe, that was Subway Cafe. If you look at your decor upgraded package, you have the brushed aluminum Subway sign in your restaurant. So I wanted to see that carried outside. And I'm not understanding why, if that's allowed in your restaurant, it cannot be allowed on the sign. And I wanted specifically asked if that brushed aluminum that's in your restaurant can be put bigger and put on your building. And I don't see a written answer to that.
No, it's not approved to be used outside. That's part of our decor package. This is the new Metro decor, and on the stone wall of the new Metro decor, that is the brushed aluminum sign that goes on that stone wall, and it's only designated for that stone wall in the store. Outside the store, it has to be Subway color and logo, the white and yellow with the arrows. That's what, when people are driving by, you know, and a lot of people drive up and down Milwaukee Avenue, they come from all over, and when they're driving by Milwaukee Avenue, they might not be familiar with the area. When they see the Subway color and logo, they'll pull in. If they saw something that they're not familiar with, chances are they might just keep going. And just like if they had a McDonald's, you want those golden arches, you know, and that's the reason for the outside, to keep the...
And I know I brought up, I submitted the picture with the Subway Cafe with the brushed aluminum, and it was a sign outside on the building, was hung. So to me, even though Subway Cafe is not kind of like it's going out of business, to me that's kind of irrelevant, because somebody thought enough to take and put the word cafe like they could put the word Metro on it. And to me, that's the upgrade I'm looking for, and it just, right now I can't, my position really hasn't changed.
We have over 30,000 restaurants in the United States and over 40,000 restaurants worldwide. And, you know, when they came out with that Subway Cafe concept, that is no longer
I understand that, but you had the Metro concept, so I mean,
They wanted to make that completely different because that had gelato, it had cafe, espressos, and all kinds of different coffees, which we couldn't even do here because it'd have to be like double the size, and with Dunkin' Donuts and everyone else shared use, they have exclusives for that, so it couldn't even be a possibility for here. And so that's what it is.
No, I understand, but if, you know, just like the cafe, if it was Metro, I mean, to me, Metro, if the word got out there enough, Metro is a specific type of design in the inside. It's not a regular Subway store. It's upgraded. So for me, to incorporate Metro in there somehow would be the way I would go, and that's really all I have right now.
In all our marketing, when we open up, we will say in all the marketing, direct mail and events, new Metro decor, and we typically will put pictures on any kind of marketing that we do that this is a new Metro decor store.
Yeah, I'm just one person on the commission, so that's all I have.
Commissioner Chef.
Thank you. I thank you for coming back with that documentation. I have no problem with corporate saying, no, you're not going to change that sign. When the idea first hit, the only way you can affect change is to start asking questions. They get enough people. Now, they're gonna upgrade these stores that are already there. And if someone doesn't see to upgrade their sign, I don't know, I think they're short-sighted. But to me, that's not my problem, that's Subway's problem. But I thank you for doing as we asked. At least it's gone into the corporate realm, and that, to me, is how you're going to affect change. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dorbman.
Thank you for coming back. I think the interior is going to be wonderful. I'm looking forward to that. Had you given any more thought to what I had said at the last meeting about adding a tagline?
We cannot modify the logo.
Okay.
But as we discussed, we are not sure, but we probably could do something to the window. That's one of the conditions that Commissioner Dorban had said last time.
You were talking about, I'm
Like
not
on
sure
the
exactly.
top.
We could take pictures, send it up to headquarters, they could approve or disapprove. We were talking about doing pictures, Metro decor
Right,
pictures in the
right,
window.
right.
That was discussed at the last meeting, and we were going to ask Connecticut about that, headquarters.
So you would be sending that to them to see if they would agree to that? Okay, that's all I want to know. Thank you.
I understand your dilemma here, but the back, I'm still not really enamored with the back sign, the one that points to the Westin. It just seems odd. It's right next to the dumpster area, and it just doesn't fit. I mean, it's the only sign that's going to be back there. Have you considered, let me ask this first before I even talk so much. Does anybody have any issues with the sign in the back being there? Commissioner Dorbman?
No.
Commissioner Johnson?
I don't see it as inviting because of the location,
Right.
but an issue with the sign, no.
Location, okay. Commissioner Powers?
It's kind of, I don't know. It's not the greatest place by the garbage. It's like the plan shows a back door, so I feel they have to do something there. I guess it's.
Commissioner Schaaf?
I have no problem with that sign back there.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop speaking because I'm gonna stop talking because to me it doesn't make sense and it just doesn't make sense to have that sign back there. It's gonna be the only sign. It's next to the garbage cans. It doesn't look very appealing to me, but the commission has said that they're okay with it. So, yes.
Just ask one quick staff question on this. Has your The staff report, we didn't really get too deep into to this during the previous discussion, but the staff report noted that the sign company has drawn the sign in an incorrect location. And there's a condition of approval in the staff report that the sign be located on this particular unit, your unit, which is roughly here.
Correct.
And the sign company has drawn it on an adjacent unit. The unit that you have available to you has a roof drain, a scupper coming out of it. Has the sign company, have they gone into any detail with you as to how they might fit the sign physically with that equipment on the wall?
Not at this point.
So we need to put a condition there that
Well,
location.
the condition is that the rear wall sign shall be located on the subject unit. I don't know that
It's going to be on our unit.
Yeah, I just don't know
It's
that
not
the
gonna
sign
just be
company
put-
has
Yes.
translated that into an actual plan yet of how they're going to need to run electric. The parapet wall obviously ends in this area where the scupper opens up. So they're going to be either above it. I don't know that they can do it except to go above it, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, do you want to look at that, where it's at before?
Well, I think if the sign company is unable to put it in, this condition of approval will have to be met. It has to be on the subject unit, and they're going to have to run electric to it. So if they're
It's
not
going
able
to be on
to
the
do it-
subject, it's going to be on our unit.
Okay. I understand.
I was just curious as to whether or not the sign company had.
I mean, what if
gone.
they do something outlandish and put it right over right over that, what you're talking about? And, they could probably work around it, so.
Big standoffs.
Yeah, right, exactly. So if that's,
It would physically fit in this area. It would physically fit above. I don't know exactly where the unit ends. I believe the door is positioned against the north wall.
why don't you just make a condition that says they've got to have the actual location, before they can put it up. That's easy. I mean, we're not gonna,
Sign company revised the sign drawing to accurately reflect.
to accurately reflect it, and before they put it up, they gotta come to you and you gotta see it.
That makes sense.
So do we have a motion?
So moved.
Wait, I'm sorry, Commissioner Dorbin, and I'll let you make the motion, but I forgot to ask Mr. Jennings if he would read the conditions.
Number one, the rear wall sign shall be reduced in size to be no more than 15 square feet.
I think it's 15 square.
Number two, that the rear wall sign shall be located on the subject unit. And number three, that the sign company shall provide an accurate sign location drawing for the rear sign prior to permit issuance.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Dorbin. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Dorbin, second by Commissioner Johnson. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Dorband.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, I'll go yes. Commissioner Powers?
No.
Commissioner Schaaf?
Yes.
Chairman Rufato?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 no, 2 absent.
It passed. Except there are some conditions before permitting on the signage. So, thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You just have something to sign.
Sure.
Struggle with that one.
I have yes, Dorban, Johnson, Fato, Schaaf, no, Powers.
Yep.
2 absent. Great.
Correct. Moving right along, approval of minutes for April 10th.
So moved.
Second, with a correction.
Okay, and the correction would be?
On page 61 and 69, Commissioner Zangara voted twice.
Well, you know, it's vote early and often.
He got it. I didn't get to vote at all, though.
Oh, okay. Yes. So,
Which
he
way?
voted,
He voted both ways.
yeah, he voted yes and no, so, that's,
Do you recall what your vote was?
it was
I talked with
3-3.
Mary. Mary's got it.
Oh, okay.
It was 3-3, right? It wasn't
The special
4-2.
use
Yes, well,
or a poll?
no, on the roll call, the vote was, there was 4 ayes and 2 nays. Oops, I'm sorry. I didn't see that.
On the recommendation for the special use?
And on page 60, 61, on the roll call, the vote was follows. Ayes, Commissioner Powers, Ruffado, Schaaf, and Zangara. Nays, Johnson, Zangara.
Interesting. I think the findings are correct, though, on that.
Because it turned out to be a 3-3.
Yes, it's a 3-3. It was a-
Yes. I
And
got my-
Commissioner
I got my
Johnson's-
cheat sheet here.
Commissioner Johnson and Zangara voted yes. And Commissioners Ruffado, Powers, and Schaaf voted
We'll check and
no.
just make sure that's consistent with the findings.
That-
Yeah, if you could,
That's what I've got.
because it was a 3-3. Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Dorban.
I'm fairly certain that the findings are correct because we did review those and send them to the board.
Well, page 69 couldn't be, I mean, it can't be correct because, again, Zangara voted twice.
69 is
The minutes,
Yeah,
yeah, the minutes
right.
are.
But 69 is the findings.
But
Well,
not in the
well-
first part of it.
Right.
We'll correct
Yeah.
it.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you. Great. So all those in favor with the correction?
Aye.
Great. All right. Mr. Jennings, any other business?
No, we have no other business.
Okay, Commissioner Dorban?
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Johnson?
Nothing here?
Commissioner Powers?
Couple quick things real quick. I don't know if anybody saw that Stella's is open and Lynn Plaza opened 2 weeks ago.
Oh, it is?
It is. It's, you should stop in, it's pretty, set up pretty nice.
Aren't they nice? I mean, if
Very
it's
nice.
similar to the one that I saw in Hoffman,
It's very nice.
yeah.
And then it also looks like Spears is opening up next Thursday, because they have an event scheduled for next Friday, so it looks like they're opening next Thursday, May 1st. That's it.
Commissioner Schaaf?
On the fact finding, when we tied the special use and the signs at the last meeting, I think we really should talk about that. I'd like to put that on the talk about, or I think we ought to workshop that. Because there is some discussion as to if a petitioner puts in a special use request and a sign request, if those two are in fact tied together, as we did and voted the last time we met. And that's all I have.
Well, yeah, I know there was some discussion at the Plan Commission meeting. I mean, I'm sorry, we're the Plan Commission. At the village meeting about that. Sure.
Yeah, I think we
But
ought to
they're-
just talk about it.
I mean, they're separate. They're separate docket items.
And that's how we treated it.
Yeah, and that's how we treat it, but we can.
But you
just-
said they were tied
We didn't
together.
treat it that way, Don.
You said they were tied
We-
together, so I'm,
We voted, we tied together.
No, because we approved the special use. Or
No,
we
well,
recommended,
we didn't.
well, we tied it, that's right.
It was tight.
The fact
Well,
finding
but-
will just, was, the poll taken. There was 3 of us that said they was tied together. And
look at
three
the minutes,
didn't.
it says right there.
Right, it
Tied
says right
together or
there.
not tied together.
Right, and that's what I want to
Oh,
talk
I see what
about.
you're, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I see what you're saying now.
Yeah, that's the
Well-
issue that I think we ought to talk about.
Sure.
I would have to agree with that.
I think we can also solicit an opinion from our attorneys on that as well. Is it?
I can't hear you.
I said that we can also solicit a opinion from our attorneys on that as to whether or not exterior signage is appropriate as part of the character standard related to a special use. We can run that by them and just ask them if that's an issue that's been worked out in the courts previously, that would give us some guidance.
I guess my question is, if that were the case, why would anybody not just do them completely separately on 2 different nights?
Well, I think
Rather than
that's
tie them
what,
together.
I think
That
that's
confuses me.
I think that's somewhat the implication of Commissioner Schaaf's question, is that if it is to someone's advantage to not even display a sign during the special use review and get fully approved before coming with signage, and a similar petition inadvertently displays what is their exterior character and is in some way penalized for it, is it more appropriate to require everyone to display it? I don't know if I'm putting words in your mouth, but is it more appropriate to just require it as part of special use? If there is to be a sign, it must be presented during special use review so that it can be considered as the exterior character. So we can.
It just seems like in this particular case, the person was being penalized because we had tied them together.
But then again, we have nothing, and I was actually okay with tying them together because you have no leverage anywhere if you approve the special use. And in this case, it was a 3-3 tie, so it was denied anyway. But the point is that there's no leverage, and maybe we do have to keep them separate because we have no leverage in this specific case. Now, as it turns out, they were approved, then everything was fine, but if it happens again, don't know what would happen. But I felt that they were tied together, the special use and the sign. I don't know how we could separate them. But maybe there is a way to do that.
But if somebody comes to us for a special use, they come to us for a special use, and we approve it or we don't. Then they come back a week later or 2 weeks later, they come back for a sign. We either approve it or don't approve it, so they're separated then. So what made this one any different?
I think you're defeating the whole purpose of my question. I think we need to talk about this, that's all.
Yeah,
You want to talk about it now, then okay, let's go talk about it.
Well, I just
That
think,
sounded like a let's step outside.
No, it's not. I mean,
I understand.
The reason I brought it up was that we need to talk about it.
Well,
you want to talk about it now?
We know we
fine.
can't talk about it. We just can't stop talking about it.
No, we can talk about it. I'm ready to talk about it.
I think to give Andrew and Brooke some direction, there should be, and we're missing Commissioner Stylen, and he would love to be part of this.
Yes, oh, he's got to be part of this.
Yeah.
Because he's the one that brought out that there are a whole bushel of items. There's a whole gamut of items that we can talk about due to special use.
Yeah.
That is not, clearly identified in what we present as special use, but we're allowed to talk about parking lots and all kinds of stuff.
So Andrew, and from our
we could keep our attorney busy for days.
From our no discussion, do you have enough to, as we bring workshop together?
We'll talk about it.
Good, you're going to talk about it.
You need to talk about it.
Right, okay. Speaking of that, let's, I know we have a meeting with the, and was that it, Commissioner Schaaf, that you had
That
for
was
other
it.
business? Okay. Is there a date certain for our joint meeting with the village?
The last date I have had is the only date that I have heard. If you give me 1 second, I will just double check that. I believe we are looking at the what was to be the workshop meeting with the board in May, and they meet, let's see, Monday.
That's what I thought.
That would be, I believe, a Tuesday. Is that correct? Is that the 27th?
What date?
It's the
May
day after-
27th,
the day
Tuesday?
after Memorial Day, I believe, is
Day
their
after
May
Memorial Day.
workshop meeting. I would pencil it in for now, and we'll try to confirm that with the manager's office.
Okay. May 27th. Okay, cool. And then, can you, do we have a meeting next week?
We do not.
We do not. So, speaking of a workshop, can we get a date in the future where we can workshop? We can have a workshop and then we can plan, like, we're going to go over our list again.
Sure.
And we're going to talk about something like this. So,
I would currently project May 15th for that.
okay, great. May 15th for a workshop for us?
Check.
So if there are other ideas that you would have for the workshop, please get them to Andrew by next Thursday, and Brooke by next Thursday, which is the 1st, right? Yeah, that's correct. So it gives them enough time to plan. Great. That is all I had. Do we hear a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Adjourned.